Once a slave, Sâlim rose to become one of the most respected Quran reciters, personally recommended by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Despite his humble beginnings, he led the Muhâjirîn in prayer and stood as a symbol of faith and equality in Islam. Fiercely just, he even confronted the great Khalid ibn al-Walîd when a mistake was made. But his ultimate test came at the Battle of Yamâmah, where, even after losing both hands, he refused to let the Muslim banner fall. Side by side with his closest brother, Abu Hudhayfah, he fought to his last breath. Umar ibn al-Khaṭṭāb later said, "Had Sâlim lived, I would have made him my successor." A story of faith, sacrifice, and honor, Sâlim's legacy still echoes today. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My brothers and sisters, welcome to the Stories of Wisdom YouTube channel. Please smash the like button and subscribe. It costs you nothing, but for the Stories of Wisdom team, it means a lot. If you'd like to treat the Stories of Wisdom team to a coffee, you can scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description. Your support is truly appreciated. Your support motivates us to bring you more content on this important topic. Barakallahu fikum. Let's get started. The noble Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, once advised his companions, saying, "Learn the Qur'an from 4 people: Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, Sâlim Mawlâ Abi Hudhayfah, Ubayy ibn Ka, and Mu'adh ibn Jabal." We have just read about one of these companions. But who was the second person in whom the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, placed such confidence, considering him a competent authority, Hujjah, in teaching the Qur'an and a reference for it? Sâlim was a slave, and when he accepted Islam, he was adopted as a son by a Muslim who had previously been one of the leaders of the Qurayshi aristocracy. When the practice of adoption, whereby the adopted person took the name of the adoptive father, was abolished, Sâlim became simply a brother, a companion, and a Mawlâ, a protected person, of his adopter, Abu Hudhayfah ibn Utbah. Through the blessings of Islam, Sâlim was elevated to a position of high esteem among Muslims due to his virtue, noble conduct, and piety. Both Sâlim and Abu Hudhayfah were among the first to accept Islam. Abu Hudhayfah himself had to endure the bitter opposition of his father, the infamous Utbah ibn Rabi'ah, who was fiercely hostile in his attacks against the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his companions. When the Quranic verse that abolished adoption was revealed, some people, including Zayd and Sâlim, had to change their names. Zayd, who had been known as Zayd ibn Muhammad, had to take on the name of his biological father. He was thus called Zayd ibn Harithah. Sâlim, however, did not know his father's name and was unaware of his lineage. Nevertheless, he remained under the protection of Abu Hudhayfah and thus became known as Sâlim Mawlâ Abi Hudhayfah. By abolishing the practice of adoption, Islam aimed to reaffirm the natural bonds and responsibilities of kinship. However, no relationship was greater or stronger than the bond of Islam and faith, which formed the foundation of brotherhood. The early Muslims understood this clearly. No one was dearer to them, after Allah and His Messenger, than their brothers in faith. We have seen how the Ansar of Medina welcomed and accepted the Muhâjirîn from Mecca, sharing their homes, wealth, and hearts with them. This same spirit of brotherhood was present in the relationship between the noble Qurayshi, Abu Hudhayfah, and the humble and modest slave, Sâlim. Throughout their entire existence, they remained more than just brothers. They died together, side by side, in both body and soul. Such was the unique greatness of Islam. Ethnic and social considerations held no significance in the eyes of Allah. Only faith and taqwa, God consciousness, mattered. As repeatedly emphasized in the Qur'an and in the sayings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him,
إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير.
no Arab is superior to a non-Arab except in taqwa, taught the noble Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who also said, the son of a white woman has no advantage over the son of a black woman except in taqwa. In the new society built upon justice by Islam, Abu Hudhayfah found it honorable to protect a man who had once been a slave. In this just and equitable society established by Islam, which ended unjust class divisions and false social distinctions, Sâlim, through his honesty, faith, and willingness to sacrifice, rose to the leadership of believers. He became the Imam of the Muhâjirîn from Mecca to Medina, leading the Salah in the Mosque of Aqabah, which had been built by the blessed hands of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He became such an authority regarding the Book of Allah that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, recommended that Muslims learn the Qur'an from him. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, held him in great esteem, saying, "Praise be to Allah, who has placed in my ummah a man like you." His own brothers in Islam used to call him Sâlim min as-Salihin, Sâlim, one of the righteous. The story of Sâlim is similar to that of Bilal, as well as to dozens of other slaves and poor individuals whom Islam freed from slavery and degradation, elevating them to the positions of imams and military commanders in a society governed by justice and equality. Sâlim's personality was shaped by Islamic virtues, among which his frankness stood out whenever he felt compelled to speak openly, especially in the face of injustice. One well-known incident that took place shortly after the liberation of Mecca serves as a clear example. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had sent some of his companions to the villages and tribes surrounding the city. He had specifically instructed them that they were being sent as dua, callers to Islam, and not as warriors. Khalid ibn al-Walîd was among them. However, during the mission, Khalid, seeking to settle an old grievance from the pre-Islamic era, Jahiliyyah, fought with a man and killed him, even though the man had already recited the Shahada, testimony of faith. Sâlim, who was accompanying Khalid on this mission, immediately confronted him upon realizing what had happened. He reprimanded him for his actions, making it clear that Khalid had committed a serious mistake. Khalid, a great leader and military commander even before Islam, listened in silence at first. Then he attempted to defend himself with growing fervor. But Sâlim stood his ground and reiterated his position. In his view, Khalid had made a grave error. Sâlim did not approach Khalid as a former slave confronting a noble and powerful Meccan. Absolutely not. Islam had placed them on equal footing. It was justice and truth that had to be defended. Sâlim did not treat Khalid as a leader whose mistakes should be concealed or justified, but as an equal partner in fulfilling a shared responsibility. He opposed Khalid not out of bias or emotion, but out of sincerity and in the spirit of constructive criticism, which Islam permitted and encouraged. The significance of such mutual sincerity was emphasized by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him himself, when he said, "Ad-dinu an-nasiha, ad-dinu an-nasiha, ad-dinu an-nasiha." Religion is sincere counsel. Religion is sincere counsel. Religion is sincere counsel. Upon hearing what Khalid had done, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was deeply distressed and made a long, fervent supplication to his Lord. "O Lord, I am innocent before you of what Khalid has done." Then he asked, "Did anyone reprimand him?" His anger subsided when he was told, yes, Sâlim reprimanded him and opposed him. Sâlim lived close to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him and the believers. He was never lazy or hesitant in his worship, nor did he fail to participate in any campaign. His strong bond of brotherhood with Abu Hudhayfah only deepened over time. Then, the time came when the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was called to his Lord. Abu Bakr took on the responsibility of leading the Muslim community, and he was soon faced with the dangerous rebellion of the apostates. This conflict led to the terrible Battle of Yamâmah. Among the Islamic forces that advanced into the heart of Arabia were Sâlim and his brother Abu Hudhayfah. At the beginning of the battle, the Muslim forces suffered a severe setback. The Muslims were fighting individually, losing the strength that came from unity. However, when Khalid ibn al-Walîd reorganized the Muslim troops, they regained their coordination and fought with renewed determination. Abu Hudhayfah and Sâlim embraced each other before the battle, pledging to seek martyrdom in the cause of the religion of truth, in the hope of attaining eternal happiness in the hereafter. Yamâmah became their fateful encounter with destiny. To inspire the Muslims, Abu Hudhayfah shouted, Ya Ahl al-Qur'an! O people of the Qur'an, honor the Qur'an with your deeds. Then, like a whirlwind, his sword flashed through the army of Musaylimah, the impostor. Sâlim, in turn, cried out, What a wretched bearer of the Qur'an I would be if the Muslims were attacked from my side. Far be it from you, O Sâlim, be a worthy bearer of the Qur'an. With renewed courage, he threw himself into the battle. When the standard bearer of the Muhâjirîn, Zayd ibn al-Khaṭṭāb, fell, Sâlim seized the banner and continued fighting. When his right hand was cut off, he held the banner with his left hand while loudly reciting the following verse from the glorious Qur'an.
وكأين من نبي قاتل معه ربيون كثير فما وهنوا لما أصابهم في سبيل الله وما ضعفوا وما استكانوا والله يحب الصابرين.
What an inspiration this verse was at that moment. And what an appropriate epitaph for a man who had dedicated his life to Islam. A wave of apostates then struck Sâlim, and he fell. He clung to life just long enough to witness the death of Musaylimah and the end of the battle. As the Muslims searched for their martyrs, they found Sâlim in his final moments. On his deathbed, he asked, What happened to Abu Hudhayfah? He has fallen as a martyr, they replied. Then lay me down next to him, he requested. He is already beside you, Sâlim. He fell in this very place. Sâlim smiled one last time and then fell silent. Together, they had entered Islam. Together, they had lived. Together, they had fallen as martyrs. Sâlim, this great believer, returned to his Lord. Upon hearing of his passing, the noble Umar ibn al-Khaṭṭāb remarked while on his deathbed, If Sâlim were alive, I would have appointed him as my successor. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It's free for you, but makes a huge difference for the Stories of Wisdom team. Want to support us? You can buy us a coffee by scanning the QR code on the screen or clicking the link in the description. Every contribution helps and is deeply appreciated. Your support keeps us going. It motivates us to bring you even more inspiring content on this important topic. Check out the next amazing video about our beautiful religion. Barakallahu fikum, and may Allah protect you and your family. Fi dunya wa fil akhirah.